Welcome to Professional Tutors. This video is a complete revision of genes and inheritance. The reason why we look similar to our biological mother or father is that we inherit their characteristics or we inherit their genes. For example, here Simon has inherited similar nose shape, fingers, height, eyes or hair from his mother, but his ears, eyebrows, or lips are inherited from his father. Genes are sections of DNA and they control different characteristics. DNA is the genetic material and contains lots of genes which code for a specific protein. The structure of DNA was discovered by Watson and Crick. The body needed a method to repeat the information which the body was based on at any time it wanted and without any changes to the information being copied, but allow changes to occur. How do our genes give us our physical characteristic? Well, characteristics may be coded by a single gene or may be controlled by multiple genes interacting with each other. By the end of this lesson, all students must be able to describe that characteristics can be inherited, and in order to keep that character, the information in the cells need to be reproduced without mistake and it has to be expressed. All students should also be able to describe the different layers of structure found in chromosome to carry reusable information. Students could also be able to explain how new variations are created through the process of fertilization, or to be able to explain the outline of the stages of how the DNA is converted into proteins in a cell, and to be able to explain how the order of the bases in DNA are changed into an order of amino acids inside an enzyme. Okay, so this slide depicts the structure of DNA. DNA is made up of two strands wrapped around each other. We call this double helix. A single strand of DNA is made up of nucleotides, which consists of phosphate, sugar, and nitrogenous bases projected inside. There are four different types of nitrogenous bases: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Bases hold two strands together in a double helix structure. These bases pair up, but the important thing to note is that only complementary bases can pair. So adenine always pairs up with thymine and cytosine always pairs up with guanine. If you look at this diagram, you will notice that phosphate of one nucleotide connects to the sugar of next nucleotide. This continues till a number of nucleotides they connect together, forming a long chain. This is also termed as sugar phosphate backbone. So the backbone of DNA is made up of sugar phosphate. We know that chromosomes are found in the nucleus of the cell and that chromosomes are made up of DNA. They contain all the instructions or genes needed to make another human being. A small section of chromosome is called DNA, and if we zoom into the structure of DNA, we find that even smaller structures obtained are called genes. So chromosomes are made up of DNA, and DNA are further made up of genes. We've already discussed that genes controls features. Now, DNA contains information of inheritance. We will discuss a little about the features of double helix structure of DNA. We've already talked about the sugar phosphate backbone and the bases projected inside. Now, the bases of two strands are paired through hydrogen bonding. Adenine forms two hydrogen bonds with thymine, and cytosine forms three hydrogen bonds with guanine. You don't have to go into more details of the structure. Try to arrange these pictures in order, analyze which comes first, which comes second, and so on. Feel free to pause the video. Organism is made up of cells. In cells, you've got nucleus, which has chromosomes. Chromosomes are made up of DNA, and sections of DNA are called genes. Genes control features. Over here, it's the earlobe, which can either be attached or detached. Take a recap of the learning objectives. Students must be able to describe that characteristics can be inherited, and in order to keep that character, the information in the cells needs to be reproduced without mistake, and it has to be expressed. Students should also be able to describe the different layers of structure found in a chromosome to carry reusable information. Students could also be able to explain how new variations are created through the process of fertilization, to be able to explain the outline of the stages of how the DNA is converted into proteins in a cell, or to explain how the order of bases in DNA are changed into an order of amino acid inside an enzyme. Fertilization is a result of sexual intercourse between male and female. So sexual intercourse leads to fertilization. During fertilization, male and female gametes fuse, which results in the mixing together of genetic information. The sperm and egg cell each contains 23 single chromosomes. This is called the haploid number. When they fuse, they produce a cell called zygote, which has 23 pairs or 46 single chromosomes. This is the diploid number. During fertilization, egg cell containing 23 chromosome fuses with the sperm cell also containing 23 chromosome, resulting in the formation of zygote with 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. I hope that's clear. Try to fill in these blanks. We know that egg cell and sperm cell are gametes, also known as sex cells. When they fuse together, they result in the formation of a cell known as zygote. We've already discussed this in our preceding videos. Moving on. Sex determination is the determination or establishment of the sex or gender of the organism. Out of the 23 pairs of chromosomes present, 22 pairs are exactly the same in both male and female. These are called autosomes. Autosomes determine the characteristic of the human body. However, only one pair, called the sex chromosomes, determine if you are born male or female. So a pair of X chromosomes are present in females, whereas an X chromosome and a Y chromosome are present in males. During sperm formation among males, two types of gametes are produced. 50% of sperms produced carry X chromosome and rest 50% carry Y chromosome. Females, however, produce only one type of ovum with a pair of X chromosomes. So in case ovum fertilizes with a sperm carrying X chromosome, zygote develops into a female, that is XX. Ovum fertilizing with a sperm carrying Y chromosome results in a male offspring, that is XY. Again, take a quick recap of the learning objectives. You can pause the video if you want to go through these objectives again. These are some keywords you need to remember for exam. Remember, in exams, you need to frame your answers with proper vocabulary. Allele is an alternative form or a slightly different form of the same gene. For example, capital T or lowercase t, representing tallness or dwarfness. Dominant refers to the stronger allele or the allele which expresses itself in the organism. Recessive refers to the weaker allele or the allele which fails to express itself in the organism. So here capital T or tallness is the dominant allele and lowercase t is the recessive allele. Why do you think chromosomes exist in pairs? We will discuss this. Dominant alleles are shown by a capital letter. Recessive alleles are shown in lowercase. For example, capital B is the characteristic representing brown eyes, which is the dominant character, whereas lowercase b represents blue eyes, which is the recessive character. We know that chromosomes exist in pairs. This means that there will be two copies of each gene in every cell. Different combinations of genes can lead to different characteristics. For example, brown eye allele, represented as capital B, is dominant to the recessive blue eye allele, represented as lowercase b. When both copies of the gene are dominant, as in capital B, the characteristic expressed will also be dominant. So over here, the color of the eyes will be brown. When both copies of the gene are recessive, as in lowercase b, the characteristic expressed will also be recessive. So here the color of the eyes become blue. When two recessive alleles are present, the characteristic expressed becomes dominant because that is the characteristic which is being expressed into the organism. In the third case, capital B, lowercase b, the dominant character will express itself. This combination of genes leads to a person with brown eyes. This is because the brown eye allele is dominant to the recessive blue eye allele. Thus, only brown eye allele is expressed. I hope that's clear. This is very important. Focus on these important keywords. Homozygous is when both chromosomes in a pair contain the same allele. For example, capital B, or lowercase b. Heterozygous is when two chromosomes contain different alleles. For example, capital B, lowercase b. Phenotype is the characteristic created by the person's genes. For example, if the genes present are capital B, small b, so we know that the characteristic expressing itself will be brown eyes. So brown eyes is the phenotype. Genotype is the combination of alleles found in the person's cells. So the combination of alleles which results in the character is the genotype. For example, brown eye is due to capital B alleles present in a gene. Monohybrid inheritance is the inheritance of characteristics controlled by a single gene. Gregor Mendel, who is also known as the father of genetics, conducted experiments for 7 years to propose the laws of inheritance. Mendel's initial experiments looked at the inheritance of a single characteristic. He used a number of contrasting visible characters of garden peas. He studied 7 traits of peas and noticed that to each trait there is a dominant characteristic as well as a recessive characteristic. For example, in the case of seed shape, the alleles for smooth seed shape are dominant over the alleles of wrinkled seed shape. Similarly, for seed color, yellow is a dominant characteristic, whereas green is a recessive characteristic. For gray seed coat color, the alleles for gray color are dominant over white seed coat color. For pod shape, inflated shape is dominant over constricted pod shape. Pod color, green is dominant over yellow pod color. For flower position, when the position of the flower is at the side of the plant, this trait is dominant over the position when the flower is positioned at the tips of the plant. We've already discussed height. For stem height, we know tallness is a dominant characteristic, whereas shortness or dwarfness is the recessive characteristic. From his experiments, he concluded that characteristics are not blended during inheritance. For example, the stem height will not at all be affected by flower position. Mendel said that characteristics are determined by inherited units, which are now known as genes. He also showed the same characteristic could be masked but then reappear in later generations. We will study this point and what he experimented in the further slides. We now know that these are recessive alleles. Mendel conducted experiments using true breeding pea plants. A true breeding plant is one that has undergone continuous self-pollination and still shows stable trait inheritance and expression for several generations. Or it is a plant that produces only similar offsprings. Mendel crossed a true breeding tall pea plant with a true breeding short plant to study the inheritance of one gene. All the offsprings were tall. He generated plants of the first hybrid generation, and this generation is also called the first filial generation or the F1 generation. And he noticed that all the plants of the F1 generation were tall. So only one of the parental traits was seen. We know that in parents, one plant was tall and the other was homozygous short plant, but only tall plants were seen in the F1 generation. Mendel then self-pollinated the tall F1 plants and found that in the F2 generation, a quarter of the offsprings were dwarf, showing a 3:1 ratio of tall is to short. Now this means that both tallness and shortness traits were inherited in the F1 plants, but only tallness was expressed. When this generation called F1 was self-fertilized, the offspring showed a 3:1 ratio of tallest to short. Mendel concluded that characteristics were inherited in pair. Thus, two copies of a trait are inherited, and these may be identical or different. Because all the F1 generation were tall plants, this allele was termed dominant to the recessive short allele. tall and dwarf plants produce gametes by the process of meiosis. The alleles of parental pair separate from each other and only one allele is transmitted to a gamete. So there will always be a 50% chance for a gamete to contain either one of these alleles. Here, homozygous tall and dwarf plants are crossed and heterozygous tall offsprings are produced. But because capital T is dominant, tallness characteristic is expressed. Self-pollination of the F1 generation led to a 3:1 ratio of tall is to short phenotypically. If we want to consider the genotypic ratio, it can either be homozygous, that is capital T, or heterozygous, that is capital T, small t. To calculate the genotypic ratio, we try to cross the gametes produced as shown. So for capital T, small t, the gametes produced are T, capital T and small t. Similarly, for this, the gametes produced are capital T, small t. So we will cross these gametes with each other. This capital T will be crossed with this capital T and this small t. This small t will be crossed with this capital T as well as with this small t. Notice that again. Alright. Producing the following genotypes. Now this is homozygous tall. Capital T to small t is heterozygous tall because we know that tallness is dominant. So it will mask the recessive allele. So tallness will mask shortness or dwarfness, producing 3:1 ratio of tall is to short. The Punnett square is a different way of working out the probabilities of genotypes from a monohybrid cross. Punnett square is a representation to calculate probability of all possible genotypes of offspring in a genetic cross. We will be using the eye color example. We know that brown eyes is a dominant characteristic over blue eyes characteristic. The possible gametes are written on two sides, usually the top row and the left columns. All possible combinations are represented in the boxes below in the squares, which generates a square output form. So when we've written the possible gametes in the top row and the left row, we cross the top and left column. So for the first column, the product will be capital B and small b because we are crossing the top with the left. For every case, we'll do the same. So this is how we use the Punnett square to find out the possible genotypes of the offspring. Here we notice that all the possible genotypes are capital B, small b, and the resultant phenotype will be brown eyes because in each case the dominant allele will mask the recessive allele. Had it been small b, the possible outcome could have been blue eyes. Using this Punnett square, explain what result you would expect and suggest how it shows genetic characteristic from a person's parents. Remember, this Punnett square looks at only one characteristic. So try to solve this. Feel free to pause the video. Okay, I hope that you now have a better understanding and you can use a Punnett square. Moving on, we've talked about sex determination. Try to find the possible probability of genotypes using a Punnett square for this case. You will find out that there is always a 50% chance of having a male or female, and the sex of the baby is always determined by the father. By now, I hope you know why. Try to solve this. Again, a quick recap of the learning objectives. Until now, we've repeatedly defined genes as sections of DNA that code for a specific protein. Genes basically carry instructions to make a specific protein, and proteins largely determine what the characteristic of an organism will be. To explain how we take genetic information from our parents, we need to understand central dogma. So, when DNA copies itself, it is known as replication. Then DNA makes RNA. This is known as transcription. Finally, RNA synthesizes proteins, and this is termed as translation. This is everything you need to know about central dogma. In short, central dogma is the flow of genetic information from DNA to proteins. And you know that proteins are involved in the expression of a trait. Nucleic acids are present inside the nucleus, that is, DNA and RNA are present inside the nucleus. So transcription occurs within the nucleus. When DNA makes RNA, base pairing is done accordingly. We've discussed about the 4 bases present in DNA. However, in RNA, uracil is present in place of thymine. So over here, uracil is complementary to adenine. The process of translation takes place outside of the nucleus or the cytoplasm. And remember that this compartmentalization happens in eukaryotes only. Now, the process of protein synthesis is divided in 2 stages. The first is transcription and the second is translation. During transcription, the code on DNA is copied onto another molecule called messenger RNA or mRNA. Our main purpose is to transfer the code on DNA, which is present in the nucleus, to the ribosomes present in the cytoplasm for protein synthesis, because we know that proteins are synthesized using ribosomes. And this transfer is done with the help of mRNA. Now, the region of DNA that codes for the RNA molecule unwinds this region. It starts with a promoter region and ends with a terminator region. Here, a copy of gene is formed in the form of mRNA. mRNA can then move outside of the cell for the next stage. Now, during translation, mRNA code is translated into the amino acids with the help of transfer RNA or tRNA. Translation begins when mRNA binds with a small ribosomal subunit. Ribosome moves along the mRNA, reading 3 bases, which we call codon, at one time. For each codon, a corresponding transfer RNA will attach itself, and then amino acid will be attached to tRNA. Next, tRNA comes in this way and the previous one gets removed. When this happens, both amino acids bind with each other using a peptide bond. This process continues and a chain of amino acids is produced, forming a protein molecule until mRNA reaches a stop codon. And this process can start all over again, beginning at a start codon present on mRNA. We've talked about variation in our previous video as well. There are two main types of variation. One is genetic and the other is environmental. Genetic variations are caused by different genes that have been inherited from our parent generation, whereas environmental variations are caused by the conditions in which the organism has developed. If any nucleotide changes, mutation occurs. So over here, A base changes to C, causing mutation. Eye color is determined by the amount and type of pigments present in the eye's iris. Blue eyes contain low amounts of melanin within the iris stroma. Mutations in certain genes cause different color because they make different amounts of melanin. Arrange these words into boxes. Again, a recap of the learning objectives. All students must be able to describe that characteristics can be inherited, and in order to keep that character, the information in the cells needs to be reproduced without mistake and expressed. Students should also be able to describe the different layers of structure found in a chromosome to carry reusable information. Students could also be able to explain how new variations are created through the process of fertilization, or to be able to explain the outline of the stages of how the DNA is converted into proteins in a cell, or to be able to explain how the order of the bases in DNA are changed in order of amino acids inside an enzyme. Let's test our knowledge. Try to answer these questions. Feel free to pause the video. Okay, what do these words mean? Try to assess yourself. Try testing yourself by completing this diagram. We've discussed this in the video in detail. Genetic engineering is when we change the genes of an organism to get what we want. Genetic engineering is when a gene from one organism is inserted into another to make it genetically modified. So a section of gene from one species is inserted into another organism of the same or different species. I hope you get the idea of what genetic engineering is by looking at this picture. By the end of this video, you should know how genes are transferred from one organism to another in genetic engineering to obtain a desired characteristic. You should also be able to understand the potential benefits and problems associated with genetic engineering in agriculture and medicine. Genetic information is in the nucleus of the cell. The nucleus contains chromosomes, which are made up of DNA. Humans have 46 chromosomes or 23 pairs of chromosomes. Genes are a section of DNA and control enzymes and proteins made in your body. Genes are passed on to you in the sex cells, also known as gametes, from your parents, and they come in pairs. So, chromosomes are found in the nuclei of cells. Humans have 46 chromosomes in 23 pairs. Chromosomes are made up of very long DNA molecule, and each gene is a section of DNA. A gene is taken from one organism and transferred into the genetic material or genome of a different organism. The new DNA of the organism is called recombinant DNA, and the organism receiving recombinant DNA is called transgenic organism. So the genome of the transgenic organism is modified. Principles of genetic engineering. Genetic engineering involves changing the genetic material of an organism using the following process. Enzymes are initially used to isolate and cut out the required gene from an organism, for example, a person. The gene is then inserted into a vector using more enzymes. The vector is usually a bacterial plasmid or a virus. The vector is then used to insert the gene into the required cells, which may be bacteria, animal, fungi, or plants. Genes are transferred to the cells at an early stage of their development. As the organism grows, it develops with the new desired characteristics from the other organism. In plants, the desired genes are often inserted into meristem cells, which are then used to produce identical clones of the genetically modified plant. The inserted genes will be read in the same way as they would have been read by the organism's own genes, and the proteins will be synthesized in the same way. A good example of this is the production of insulin. Insulin helps in the regulation of blood glucose level, but in type 1 diabetic patients, insulin is not produced. So patients are injected with insulin. The question is, how do we get this insulin, or where do we get this insulin from? The DNA of bacteria is cut by an enzyme, and a human gene for insulin production is inserted in its place. The engineered plasmid is then inserted back into the bacterium. The bacteria reads the gene as one of its own and translates insulin protein. Bacterium then divides and begins producing insulin. Genetically engineered bacteria and fungi can be cultured on a large scale to make huge quantities of protein from other organisms. Scientists have found that genes can also be transferred into plant and animal cells. Genes from jellyfish have been used to produce crops that grow in the dark when they are lacking in water, so farmers know when to water them. Some animals have been genetically engineered to produce complex human proteins in their milk. Some mice have been modified to display human diseases such as Alzheimer's, cancer, and diabetes. The production of drugs with farming. Another way of making medically useful products in large amount is farming. The production of pharmaceuticals in farm animals or plants. An expression vector carrying a desired gene can be put into an animal, fertilized egg or embryo, which is implanted into a surrogate mother. The transgenic offspring produces the new protein in their milk. The milk is easily harvested and the protein isolated, purified, and made clinically available to patients. Donor use. After insemination, fertilized eggs are collected. The human transgene is injected into the fertilized eggs. Eggs are transferred to recipient use. The offsprings are raised. selection of animals producing the human protein in the milk. There are various advantages and disadvantages of genetic engineering. Advantages can be that bacteria can make human medicines and hormones, improve the growth rate of plants and animals, improves the food value of crops, reduces fat levels in meat, produce plants that make their own pesticide chemicals. Crop plants give off a blue light, so farmers know when to spray with pesticides. Possible cures for genetic diseases. Genetic diseases can be very serious, and it might become possible to insert healthy genes into the affected cells using genetic engineering. The disadvantages of genetic engineering are that insects may become pesticide resistant if they eat a constant diet of pesticide forming plants. It may have an effect on human health. Genes from genetically modified plants might spread to wildlife or environment. Genetically modified crops are often infertile, so farmers would have to buy new seeds each year, and it might become expensive for some farmers. People may want to manipulate the genes of their own children. Okay, so these are some questions for you to try. The picture shows a zebrafish. Zebrafish are small freshwater fish that usually have black and silver stripes. Zebrafish can tolerate a wide range of environmental conditions. Scientists have genetically modified zebrafish to act as pollution indicators. The genetically modified zebrafish have a gene transferred from a jellyfish, which allows the stripes of the zebrafish to change color. The questions are: describe how the scientists produced the genetically modified zebrafish. Some scientists are worried about the production of genetically modified zebrafish. Suggest reasons why. Try to pause the video and answer these questions. I will show you the answers to these questions. Okay, take a look at the answers. GM here stands for genetically modified. Genetical engineering can be done on all different types of organisms, from plants to animals and even bacteria. Genetically modified food lasts longer on the shelf. Plants can grow well in hot countries and can make their own pesticides. Genetically modified foods can also be made resistant to any disease or to grow in any unfavorable environment or to produce bigger flowers or fruits. Genetically modified crops can be made more tolerant to abiotic stresses like cold, salt, or heat, can be made pest resistant, are helped to reduce post-harvest losses, and have increased nutritional value of food. Genetically modified cotton is resistant to pests. Cotton fibers are used for textiles and the seeds provide oil and protein. Genetically modified cotton has a gene from a bacterium which codes for a toxin that kills the pests. Most genetically modified cotton is grown in India and the US, but some is grown in other parts of the world as well. Genetically modified soybeans are resistant to weed killer, and 77% of all soya grown in the world is genetically modified. Genetically modified tomatoes, potatoes, squash, and papaya are resistant to pests, and so fewer chemicals have to be used. Tomatoes have longer shelf life as ripening is delayed. This means the fruits can be ripened on the plants before being picked, giving them more flavor. Genetically modified golden rice. Now, golden rice contains more vitamin A when compared with white rice, and it can be a way of providing enough of this vitamin to children in developing countries at no extra cost. Genetically modified maize, resistant to a pest, the corn borer. 80% of the maize grown in the US is genetically modified, and this is a huge number. Genetically modified maize is now grown in Spain, Portugal, the Czech Republic, and Germany as well. The gene from algae has been put into another variety of corn to provide the fish oils humans need for brain development. Like we inherit characteristics or traits from our parents, we also inherit disorders from them, which may also cause diseases. We will talk about cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, polydactyly, and hemophilia. Inherited disorders are passed down from parents to children. For example, conditions like sickle cell anemia and cystic fibrosis. Genetic screening can be done on a fetus to test for inherited disorders. Cystic fibrosis is a hereditary disorder characterized by lung congestion and infection. Cell membrane is mainly affected in cystic fibrosis. There are no treatments available currently for cystic fibrosis. The organs affected by cystic fibrosis are sinuses, lungs with thick, sticky mucus buildup, bacterial infection, and widened airways, skin with sweat glands producing salty sweat, liver with blocked biliary ducts, pancreas with blocked pancreatic ducts, intestines cannot fully absorb nutrients, and reproductive organs are also affected. Over here, this is a normal airway of a healthy person, whereas in a person affected by cystic fibrosis, thick and sticky mucus blocks the airway, which makes it difficult to breathe. Cystic fibrosis is a recessive condition with a recessive allele, denoted by lowercase c. This means that presence of two recessive alleles or lowercase c will actually cause cystic fibrosis. A person with alleles capital C and small c is a carrier of cystic fibrosis. The symptoms of cystic fibrosis are thick, sticky mucus on lungs with blocked air passages, prone to infection, mucus in pancreas affecting digestion of food. Work out the probability of two carriers having a child with cystic fibrosis. Sickle cell anemia is also caused by a recessive allele. It causes red blood cells to change into a sickle shape. Sickled red blood cells can be trapped in blood vessels, causing anemia. Work out the probability of two carriers having a child with sickle cell anemia. Polydactyly affected individuals have extra fingers or toes, and it is caused by a dominant allele. This condition does not cause any other problems. Work out the probability of someone with polydactyly and someone without polydactyly having a normal child. You cannot be a carrier of the allele for polydactyly because it is caused by a dominant allele. So when you carry a dominant allele, you will show the characteristic. Next is hemophilia. It is a genetic disorder that only affects male. We know that males are XY. So when the X in XY is hemophilic, males will show hemophilia. It is carried on the X chromosome. Females can, however, be a carrier if they have one normal X and one hemophilia X. Fertilized cells with two hemophilia X chromosomes will not develop into a baby. Can you guess why? The symptoms of hemophilia are that blood does not clot properly and small knocks can cause internal bleeding. Infections of clotting factor are given to hemophilic patients. Work out the cross between a carrier hemophilic mother and unaffected father. You can pause the video and then I will show you the cross. There you go. You can match your answer. Current research is going on gene therapy, which is replacing faulty genes, and stem cells, which can be grown into any human cells to use them to replace faulty tissues.
Welcome to Biology Quiz that we will now take to not only enhance our knowledge but to also test how much we've learned. So today's first round tests whether you truly know about the different types of reproduction, and it will be a battle to the end. Let's go. For this round, two options will be provided and you have to choose among the two. First question is, which among these two options involves one parent? You will be given 5 seconds to answer each question. And the answer is asexual. That was easy. Let's move forward. In which type of reproduction are offsprings similar to parent but not identical? Sexual reproduction is the answer. Good. Creates variation. Sexual is correct. Characteristics are determined by genes. The answer is both sexual and asexual. Involves two parents. You should be able to get this. Sexual, okay. Can occur in plants. Both sexual and asexual. Occurs in bacteria. Asexual. Can occur very quickly. Asexual. Offsprings are identical to parent. Asexual. Occurs in animals like humans. Sexual is the obvious answer. This was the last one. Very good. That was easy, wasn't it? Two of the answers from the last competition stated that asexual reproduction occurs in bacteria and can happen very quickly. Use these facts and answer the following questions. Is this engineered correctly? A passage about the process of genetic engineering to produce insulin will appear on your screen. You will have 1 minute to read through the passage carefully and to work out whether it has been engineered or written correctly. If the statement is incorrect or if you find any word which is wrong in the statement, point that out and replace it with the correct word. Let's start. The insulin gene is removed from the DNA by cutting the DNA using an enzyme called DNA ligase. So DNA ligase is the incorrect word and we will replace it with restriction enzymes. You can pause the video to read the sentence again. The next step is restriction enzymes make blunt cuts at specific base sequences, leaving exposed bases on the DNA strands known as sticky ends. So we replace the word blunt with staggered cuts, which is the correct word to replace it with. A circular loop of DNA, known as a plasmid, is taken from a bacterial cell and cut with the exact same restriction enzyme as was used to cut the human gene. This is correct. A circular loop of DNA, known as plasmid, is taken from a bacterial cell and cut with the exact same restriction enzyme as was used to cut the human gene. Explain why the same restriction enzyme is used to cut both the human gene and the plasmid. Feel free to pause the video, think about it. This is why. This is the DNA from plasmid, and this is the obtained gene from DNA. You can notice the complementary sticky ends. This is how the recombinant DNA will be formed. You can rewind the video to observe how that happened. You will notice hydrogen bonding between complementary bases. Using the same restriction enzyme will produce sticky ends on both human gene and the plasmid, which are complementary to each other and therefore will be able to bond together. Is this engineered correctly? The sticky ends on both the human gene and the plasmid are complementary to each other and therefore will be able to bond together. The enzyme DNA ligase creates a more permanent bond between the gene and plasmid. This statement is correct. Is this engineered correctly? The recombinant DNA is inserted into a new bacterium as the plasmid has carried the human gene into a different organism. It is known as scala. Can you point out the incorrect word in this statement? Yes, that's scala, and the correct word to replace it with is vector. The bacteria are now known as transgenic bacteria. When placed in the optimum conditions, these bacteria will reproduce sexually by mitosis and produce clones which all have the insulin gene. This allows the large-scale production of insulin for human use. Sexually is replaced with asexually. Round 4 is going to test your ability to get the answers to the quantitative parts of exam questions. Let's start. Use the answer to the last competition question to help you to select the correct answer below and then write out the full sentence. If the diploid number of an organism is 56, then at the end of meiosis, you have to choose among A and B. Statement A is 4 daughter cells will be produced that will each contain 56 chromosomes. B, 4 daughter cells will be produced that will each contain 28 chromosomes. So statement B is correct. If the diploid number of an organism is 56, then at the end of meiosis, 4 daughter cells will be produced that will each contain 28 chromosomes. Use the sentence describing meiosis above to help you write a sentence that describes mitosis in the same organism. If the diploid number for an organism is 56, then at the end of mitosis, 2 daughter cells will be produced that will each contain 56 chromosomes. I hope you now know the difference. Diploid is the complete set of chromosomes as found in body cells and not gametes, whereas haploid is half the number of chromosomes as found in gametes. Two of the answers from the latest competition stated that asexual reproduction occurs in bacteria and can happen very quickly. Use these facts and your own knowledge to answer these questions. Which form of cell division is involved with asexual reproduction in bacteria? Second, describe, using just one keyword, the cells that are produced as a result of asexual reproduction in bacteria. Third, if a single bacterium is resistant to an antibiotic and can reproduce asexually every 20 minutes, how many antibiotic-resistant bacteria will be there after 3 hours? Pause the video and then I will show you the answers. You can now check your answers. Also, let's move forward to question 4. Use the process of natural selection to explain how a colony of antibiotic-resistant bacteria could arise from a single bacterium with the resistance. Take a few minutes. Try to answer this on your own. We will move forward to take a look at how the answer can be framed. A mutation occurs in a single bacterium that causes it to be resistant to the antibiotic. When the antibiotic is added to the medium, this bacterium will survive because the bacterium is resistant to the antibiotic. The bacteria who are not resistant will not survive. The bacterium with resistance reproduces asexually by mitosis. The resulting offspring will be clones of the original bacterium and therefore will also be resistant. If this is allowed to continue, a colony of bacteria resistant to this antibiotic will have grown. I hope that's clear. Okay, so round 2 of today's quiz will test whether you know your abbreviations. What does DNA stand for? We've talked so much about DNA in this video. That's right, it's deoxyribonucleic acid. The table below shows 4 statements about the structure of DNA, of which 2 are correct and 2 are incorrect. Work out which 2 statements are correct. Rewrite the incorrect statements to make them correct. DNA is a single-stranded polynucleotide. The base adenine pairs with thymine by complementary base pairing. Hydrogen bonds are found between complementary bases. Each nucleotide consists of a base, ribose sugar, and a phosphate group. So by the looks of it, statement B and C are correct. A and the correct statements are B and C. Statements A and D have to be corrected, and the corrected statements are: DNA is a double-stranded polynucleotide and not a single-stranded polynucleotide. Each nucleotide consists of a base, deoxyribose sugar, and a phosphate group. Back to the abbreviations. GMO, what does GMO stand for? That stands for genetically modified organism. Scientists are able to genetically engineer bacteria in order to produce useful substances. Suggest a useful substance that could be produced in this way. These are some of the options that you can use to answer this question. Hormones such as insulin, vaccines, or antibiotics.
Okay, so that was a big lesson, but equally important, and I hope you've understood the concept. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to the channel.